Well, dude, it's good to jam with you, man. I feel like mostly we've done this where I am on the interview side or the interviewee side,
That's
being
right.
interviewed on your show. So I think I was talking to you about this when we were doing the prep. I'm like, I forget Armand has a whole career journey that started
Yeah.
prior to 30 Minutes to President's Club. So I would like to start there. Like, take us back to like your first tech sales job. What was that like? You were hammering the phones, doing all of the fun stuff that you're teaching reps now at 30 MPC, but why tech
Yeah.
sales, dude?
Contrary to popular belief on Reddit, I did actually work in sales at one point in my life. So, first sales job ever was selling insurance
Yep.
at Northwestern Mutual, where I was a top 2% entrant in the country. And I actually had a $20,000 clawback as a college student
Wow.
that made me quit sales. So, I quit sales for 2, 3 years and I went into management consulting. I was at PwC and then another strategy house that was led
Yeah.
by MB Beers. And then I got the itch to get back into sales. And because I had a background in finance at that point in time, I started working for this fintech unicorn called Carta.
Yeah.
So I came in as a mid-market AE, which was a little bit of a career jump. I basically skipped SDR because of my
Hmm.
insurance experience and because I had experience in finance. And the short of it is they were making the transition from inbound to outbound.
Yeah.
And so they had doubled the team size, but lead flow stayed flat.
Of course.
And so average attainment was like, I think there was one person on my team of 8, on my
Yeah.
pod of 8 that hit quota. And the average attainment was like 40 or 50%.
Did you know this going in, or is this
No
stuff that you
idea.
find? Of course.
No idea. Right.
Yeah.
And there were like parts of it in the interview where, I mean, at Northwestern Mutual, you'd make $200 a week like clockwork as a
Yeah.
college intern.
Yeah.
Like that's like part time, you'd make $200 a week.
Yeah.
So I wasn't afraid to outbound. And I remember they were like, are you ready to like hit the phones and all that stuff? And then
Mhm.
when I got in there, I would look at the activity boards and these reps were used to feasting off of inbound
Mm.
and they were all starving now, but no one was willing to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And so I kind of made a name for myself doing what I talk about now a lot today, which is I had my cold call opener, which was heard the name tossed around, cold call opener,
Yeah.
and I would drop into my problem pitch and I started booking 3, 4, 5 meetings for myself per week
Yeah.
outbound. And so I ended up becoming the number one rep within 6 to 9 months, did over 250% of my number. And a new VP of sales came in. The director of SDR at the time basically got ousted. And then he was like, yo, you've got a repeatable outbound process. I want you to run the SDR org.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay. And so I went straight from being a mid-market AE to being basically a director of sales, a manager of managers,
Yeah.
tripled outbound pipe gen while doubling the team size.
Yeah.
And then I got plucked to be head of sales over at Pave, where I eventually led them from 0 to 13 million in ARR in
Yeah.
2 years and became their eventual VP of sales.
So the AE to SDR leader jump, I'm curious about because, dude, being an SDR leader, especially a frontline manager, is I think one of the toughest jobs in sales. I don't think it's the toughest necessarily, but dude, you're managing an organization with, at that time, SDRs were probably getting promoted in 8 to 12 months to an AE.
Yeah.
So you're turning over people through promotions. You're also turning people over because this is oftentimes the first job that someone has out of college and they figure out that sales is not for them. Why did you decide to go that route versus continuing to be an AE or becoming a sales manager maybe at that time? Like why the SDR route?
Yeah. A lot of people, it's funny what people will make up. Some people were like, "Oh, did you want like a break from quota?" And and the answer is like, "No."
Yeah.
Like that wasn't the issue. I
And it's
get
not really a break from quota though.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe leadership as a break from quota. I would say that
Yeah.
my most stressful days, in fact, I was almost never stressed as a sales rep, not to make that sound arrogant, but like
Yeah.
when you kind of figure out the motion and you get good at the
Mhm.
game, it becomes a game of like setting your own records and setting your own next best numbers
Yeah.
versus when you're in the game of leadership, every day is like a new puzzle of like, okay, like the board's setting this target. We have to go from 4 million to
Mm.
20 million in a year. And I'm like, what am
Yeah.
I going to do to like bend this arc versus, oh, I did 200% last year. How do I do 250% in my own
Yeah.
territory? The reason that I made the change is I always knew that as a human being, I get bored very
Mhm.
easily. And the moment I figured out the motion at Carta, and same thing at Pave, the moment I figured out the motion, I was like, okay, I got this. and I'm going to repeat this over and over and over and over again
Yeah.
for 3 to 6 months, and it's kind of fun. Um,
Yeah.
and then it loses its luster a little bit. But then what I started doing is I started mentoring like other junior reps on the team,
Uh-huh.
and I would see them figure it out and like see them light up the room. And that was a feeling where I was like, I will never get tired of
Oh,
that.
it feels so good.
Like when I see
Yep.
Steph for the first time book her meeting when she was like on the brink of PIP or whatever it was,
Mm.
and like you see what it does for her life, you see her come over, give you a hug, all that stuff. Like
Yep.
that is the part that I
Mm.
really like. And the reality is that required me to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
Like I made way less money as a director of SDR than I did as a mid-market AE doing almost 300% of my number,
Yeah.
but I had never been more fulfilled in my life.
Yeah. I love that. I remember when I first met you, I think you were at Pave when
Yeah.
I first met you, and I'm like, this guy seems a little stressed out.
I
I was like, we didn't
was
really
pissed
develop
off.
a friendship, I would say, for maybe a year or two after that.
Yeah,
dude.
I was like,
was
get in here, let's record, get out.
Nick and I would
was a
jam
pissed
about
off
like
dude.
therapy, and then he would bounce.
Yeah, I needed it.
But yeah, I mean, like when I think of Armand, I think of like you're like the systems and frameworks guy, and you're really lit up by like mentoring and coaching people and seeing them succeed. So let's talk about this systematizing outbound, because you spent this time in the trenches and there was this very clear like step-by-step process that you took the team through. And one of the things that you talked about right away, the first step was just making sure that you had the right people and the right team. Can you walk us through that? Because this is something, this moving from inbound to outbound, it sounds really great in theory. But in my experience working with a ton of clients, dude, a third to a half of the team is not going to be a good fit for that. They're just not built for
Yeah.
outbound, nor do they want to do outbound. So what was your experience like when you took over the SDR to org?
Yeah, the nice thing about turning around SDR is it's quick.
Yeah.
Like turning around enterprise sales organizations is really hard because you might not know if what you're doing is working
Yeah.
until 6 to 12 months of deal cycles
Yeah.
have played out.
Yep.
SDR, you can figure out in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Are we booking
If-
meetings or not? And
Yeah.
are they with the right people? And do the AEs like the meetings? You know?
Totally. You like the temperature in the room in an SDR org can literally change overnight.
Yep.
So if I were going to turn around every single SDR org, I would say that most SDR orgs could be substantially improved if you did 3 things. Number 1, you got the right people in the room.
Yep.
Number 2, you just raised the standard
Mhm.
of what the expectations were, and you created a culture around that. And then number 3, you gave people very minimum viable frameworks so that they weren't using the ridiculous things you see from Grant Cardone. They're using like basic modern tech sales techniques. If you gave every single team those 3 things,
Yeah.
most SDR teams would probably see a pretty significant lift. And so
Yeah.
the first thing I did is I took over a team of 12, or rather 20. So it was 3 different teams,
Mhm.
2 in San Francisco, 1 in Salt Lake City. And I had like the 4 or 5 top performers on the team, they just got promoted.
Oh no.
So I was
Yeah.
left with this like mediocre middle
Yeah.
plus some underperformers,
Yeah.
plus some young guns who had
Yeah.
potential. And so this sounds kind of brutal, but I called it flip 2, fire 2, hire 2.
Okay.
So flip 2 was I took 2 of the young guns who didn't have 12 months of bad habits, never picking up the phone. Literally, not a single person had over 100 dials. Took 2 people who were young guns, and I was like, hey, I need you to be part of this change. And like, I'm going to be there with you, but the expectation is every single week you're hitting 200 dials minimum.
Yeah.
And we got to like set the tone and the culture here, because if it doesn't change quick, like
Mhm.
you got to change momentum quick when you're doing a turnaround.
Yep.
There were 2 underperformers and people who like, frankly, just were not on board with the new way of doing things. And so let them go. And then brought
Like
in,
immediately?
it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they were performing and then I was like, go. It was like there was ongoing underperformance, and it was like, okay, like you show these people the door when there were unmade hard decisions
Yeah.
that needed to be made quickly.
Can you just spend a minute on that? I think that someone in your position might come in and feel a little bit like, "Ooh, I kind of need to maybe not ruffle too many feathers? Or I've heard also sales leaders talk about, I need to kind of build some relationships and make some friends. I hear the exact opposite of that. Like, how did you mentally deal with the fact that you were going to have to
Yeah,
fire, for lack of a
totally.
better word, like a couple
Yeah,
people right away? Or you could
a
just say,
little bit
or
of
maybe it
it.
was easy for you. I don't know.
No, 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 because I look back at I coached wrestling
Yeah.
back in the days, and I look back at you know this in the content game.
Hmm.
Sometimes early on, when you have such an uninformed perspective on things, when you find something that you believe in, you are like so fist on the table, defiant about this is the way
Yeah.
you have to do it because this is the only way.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was coaching wrestling back in the day, like some of the things I did, I was like, this guy went like overload, like
Yeah.
crazy, just like insane workouts, like kids just like brawling in the room. And there was something about like a little bit of like the ignorance of consequences
Yeah.
that I was just like, this is what needs to be done. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you what made it easier. Number one, like I personally was, when I came onto that team and it was an inbound culture, it's not like I just started making dials and then I was this hero of the sales team. I had a huge target on my back.
Yeah.
And I had a lot, like I had people looking at every single opportunity that I created, going to RevOps, making sure it was actually my account, trying to take
Mhm.
claims on my territory. It was a super unwelcome culture.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, I had like a little bit of a vendetta where I was like, I can smell remnants of this culture bleeding into this SDR team.
Oh, okay.
And it's one thing if someone is working hard, doing all the right things, and they're coachable. Those people stayed.
Yeah.
But when you're not working hard, when you're complaining, when you're causing cultural problems, when I'm running a training and you're scoffing in the corner, you think you're better than it all, to me, you're in the way of progress.
Mhm.
And that is the thing that some of these people will burn teams down from the inside.
Yeah.
And I was not willing to let them get in the way of the 4, 5, 6 people who actually wanted to like get it done.
Yeah. That's so big because, dude, I'll be honest, a lot of the clients that we work with, when I look at the sales teams, I'm like, I don't know if I would hire a lot of these people. And it's not
Yeah.
because they're not talented, it's their attitude.
Yeah. Apathy. There are a lot of sales teams out there that are extremely apathetic.
Yeah.
And I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone needs to be smile and dial, everything's good all day, da, 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 da. But when it's like every single thing you try to roll out, there's this foot drag and people are like
Yep.
moving slowly and they're like, oh, like here we go. It's like, I don't care how good of a leader you are.
Yep.
If that's how your people are moving their feet, like you're not going to get anything done.
Love it. So it was, you found your two champions.
Yep.
You fired two. What was the other two?
Hire two.
Hired two.
Yeah. So brought on two really hungry. And I think there's something to be said around your interview process sets the tone
Hmm.
for how you expect people to come in.
Yeah.
So completely tore apart the interview process from day one. It was a pretty quick 3-round process.
Yeah.
So screen, mock cold call.
Hmm.
Like from day one, you're doing cold calls. On the second, literally the second conversation you have with
Yeah.
Carta, mock cold call. On site, which was a mock cold email,
Hmm.
a targeting test with me, which was like
Yeah.
a little bit of like a brain teaser, getting a sense of like how they would research an account, kind of
Yeah.
like making sure that they actually think. And then a wild card, which would usually be a rep culture test with
Mm.
one of the two reps who was like on board with the new movement.
Okay, let's unpack this because this is another huge opportunity, I think, for improvement across teams. So, how did you decide who you were going to screen?
Yeah. So in terms of who even made it to the interviews in the first place.
Yeah, who even? I mean, was the screen through a phone call?
Yeah, usually a phone call
Okay.
or like a quick Zoom.
So, what were you looking for in order to even figure out if you wanted to do a quick screen?
Yeah. So with SDR, one of the things that's hard is, in my opinion, work experience is very overrated.
Yeah.
Of the top 5 to 10
So is
SDRs,
college education, I think.
you'd be surprised. There's a little bit of like a selection bias thing there,
Yeah.
but of the top, I was going to say 5, but even 10 SDRs, I can definitely name of the top 5 SDRs I've ever hired, not a single one had prior SDR experience, not even one. And I'm pretty sure that holds for the top 10. Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the best SDR transitioners that I've ever hired. One of them is on my team right now. Her name is McKenna.
Yeah.
That's probably the only one that I would put in the top 10.
Yeah.
Everyone else I would say was either college grad or career changer,
Yeah.
right? So I'll give you the example backgrounds and then we'll break that into filtering criteria. So
Yeah.
the top 5 SDRs that I ever hired, I'll give you a couple backgrounds. Number 1, Josh Durst Weissman, uh, ex-Hollywood script writer.
Okay.
Came in through a referral in a tech network. So that was one.
Yeah.
Armin Davuti, he's with me in New York now. Pre-law grad from UCLA. Smart. Bonnie Sarche, Andreessen Horowitz intern. Really sharp.
Yeah.
So it's like those are the types of profiles. So they generally fell into one of 2 categories. You either had career changers who showed propensity to learn,
Mhm.
write, or communicate in their career. So
Yeah.
think teachers, think the Hollywood scriptwriter, etc. And then you had fresh college grads who showed, hey, like I'm pretty smart and I'm willing to like demonstrate my proactivity through
Yeah.
extracurriculars. So athletes, people who had like really solid internships, people on
Yeah.
debate. Bonnie was at Andreessen Horowitz, people like that.
So proactivity, that's like such a big thing that I look for in the people that we bring onto our team too. Was there anything early on that they did that was proactive in terms of doing a little bit extra outside of submitting the resume? Was there anything like that that got them a shot at a screening call?
It happened less at Carta, a lot more at Pave.
Yeah.
So the way that I hired our top SDR of all time, Alan Shen,
Yeah.
he was also a career changer. He had like BD/business work,
Yeah.
and he had worked for like the Hustle, the My First Million team,
Yeah.
which was interesting. He actually inbounded, and he sent me a cold email Loom video.
Yeah.
And if you actually watch the Loom video, it was not tailored to me.
Oh,
Yeah, it was not tailored to me.
Yeah.
But the reason that I liked him is because he did such a good job of hiding the fact
Yeah.
that the video wasn't tailored.
Yeah. So in a
To
way,
me.
he was showing you what he would do on the job.
He was
if you hired
showing me
him.
what it would look like to personalize at scale.
Yeah.
Like it was in his tone. He was like, yo, what's going on, man? And like, maybe he had another one that was like, yo, what's going on, miss? Right? And it was like, I saw you were hiring for this SDR job. My name's Alan. And like, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. And if you don't, hang on for the next 60 seconds. Just look out because you'll get some pretty creative follow-up from me. And he
Yeah.
goes into like his life story and all that stuff. And it
Yeah.
was really well architected and everything. And like the tone that he brought to it made it sound like he had intended to reach out to me, even though
Yeah.
I knew he sent that message to a bunch of different people. And I was like, this kid's sharp.
Dude, I
And he was
love it.
great.
So screening call, you brought folks in office, you made them do mock calls. And I know this might sound so obvious to some people watching or listening to this, but you'd be surprised how many interview processes do not include a mock cold call for
Yeah.
an SDR. I'm like blown away that they never make them demonstrate like the skills for the job. So in that first interview, how did you set up? Did you tell them there was going to be a mock cold call? Did you prep them in advance? Did you just put them on the spot? Like,
Yeah. So I'll send them a very basic framework.
mhm.
At Pave, once 30 MPC was started, I would actually send them a podcast episode.
Yeah.
Be like, here's a good resource. And then look at our website. That's
Yeah.
it. You're going to go through a mock cold call. I would be ready with like your minimum viable pitch.
Yeah.
And so, look, the reality is like all of the mock cold calls are bad.
Yeah.
All of them are bad. Some of them are good. If they're good, great.
Yeah.
But you're testing for 2 things. You're testing, one, for someone's ability to learn and operate in ambiguity.
Yep.
So when they show up, when you listen to just like how they approach the cold call, did they use a permission-based opener or heard the name tossed around opener, which
Mhm.
was in the podcast? Or do they ask, how's your day going?
Yep.
Do they at least take a good stab at understanding the problem you solve when they
Yep.
pitch, as opposed to just like regurgitating what's on your website? Some
Yeah.
of this is like you're looking to see, were the gears turning and
Yep.
could they transform raw information into talk tracks and at least take a stab at it? That's
Yeah.
the first thing you're looking for, is
Yeah.
the ability to learn. The second thing you're looking for is the ability to be coached,
Good. This is
which
such a
is
big
you
one.
run 2 calls.
Yeah.
So you always go two cold calls, right? So the first one, you run it through. Hey, this is what went well, what didn't go well. You ask them to coach themselves
Hmm.
first. And then you say, like, hey, could I give you some feedback? You'll see a physical reaction in them. Be like, great, I want you to change these one or two things max.
Yep.
You run it through again. Every single time I've hired someone who didn't change anything, that person was gone in 3 months.
Yeah.
Every single time there's a drastic change between call one and call two, that person goes far.
Yep.
Like that is what you're testing for.
Dude, I love that. We, through our interview process, we have a scoring criteria. Coachability is one of them. A1 is the person is not coachable, nor do they ask for feedback. 2 is they are receptive to feedback, but they didn't ask for coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 is someone that like they couldn't work in a job without being coached. Like they asked you for feedback, they were able to implement it, etc. And this is, God, when you talk about culture, which we'll talk about next, it's like this is like everything in the culture is like you want people to be receptive to feedback, and you want them to just have this growth mindset where they want to get better at their job.
Totally.
And that's a really easy thing to filter for in the interview process. Excuse me. So you have that first interview, you do the mock cold call. That second interview, so you have them ride shotgun with current reps.
So in the second interview, so first interview is the screen, the second interview is the mock cold call,
Or the
and
third
then
interview, rather.
third
Yeah.
interview it kind of jumps to the on-site, and it's
Yeah.
a super round of 3 interviews,
Okay.
right? So the interviews are a mock cold email, a what I called a filtering or a targeting exercise with me,
Yeah.
and then there was a rep one-on-one. So they would meet with
Yeah.
another rep on the team. So with the rep, I actually gave reps free license to test for grit and ability to think on your feet
Yeah.
however they wanted. So there was this one gal on my team, Alyssa Lee. She was awesome. She's our first enterprise SDR. She would do a combination of one testing for work ethic, trying to make
Yeah.
sure that they trying to understand some story in the past where they had to
Mhm.
work really hard or got through something. But then she would throw some like wrenches in there, which
Yeah.
is like, all right, it's a hot sunny day in Florida, and you have 17 cups of hot cocoa. How do you sell them? And like and she just like kind of like watch the person, like
Yeah.
see how that person reacts, and you get a sense of like can someone be scrappy, but you also get a sense of like
Yeah.
is this we call it the beer test of like is this kind of person that you'd want to like go grab a beer with after a like long day of selling with,
Yeah.
or
It's
a
like
tea or
vibe
whatever.
check.
Exactly, it's a
Yeah.
little bit of
They
a
could
vibe
hang.
check, and like you'd be amazed, like that's the least technical of all the on-site tests.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of times where like SDRs kind of have the inside scoop on the team.
Yeah.
And they're like, look, here's why I think this person like might have a hard time like getting along with our AEs or like
Yeah.
like figuring it out. Here it's like they're really well intentioned, but they're just like a little bit green and like
Yeah.
eager, bushy tail, bunny eye, whatever you call it. And
Yep.
it's like they would flag things like that and be like, okay, I trust you.
Yeah.
But the
What?
other two tests are, I mean, you do a cold email test. And like that's again, you see hands-on keys. You see
Yeah.
people who can't spell. You see people who 50-page paragraphs, like everything
Yeah.
comes out.
You want to hear something really scary that I've seen is someone that cannot write an email without using, AI or ChatGPT or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. I'm like, they just cannot do their job without it.
Yeah.
And we are both very big like on AI and like using it and all of that kind of stuff, but that's like something you got to test for these days too. So this second step, like the culture change, walk us through that. And like tactically, what does that look like too? Because
Yeah.
culture, I think people use that word a lot, but I'm like, what are the actions that a leader does
Yeah.
at first to set the tone around the culture? What were you doing on a daily basis to like
Yeah.
uphold that culture? Like, what did that look like? And how do you think about culture?
Yeah. So let's break it down into what I wanted the culture to look like,
Mm-hmm.
and then what did we do to actually make that exist. So I remember when I was an AE at Carta, it was like lonely. It was really lonely
Mm.
because no one wanted to prospect. I would get in and I was like, all right, 8:30, clear my inbox, 9 a.m., dialing.
Yeah.
And it would be dead silent, and literally every single person on the floor would hear me cold calling.
Did you do the Nick Scalesky thing where you didn't pee until you made your
I
phone
didn't know.
calls?
That's the 10 dial no pee rule. He still would tell me that. I would be like, I've got to focus on my cold calls. I don't need that stick motivation for me. I just said 9 a.m. was when I dial, and I will have normal bladder functioning. So no, I did not do that.
You just like didn't give a shit though. You're like, I'm gonna go in and make my calls. I don't care if the entire office can hear me.
Totally.
You know, landing a meeting or getting it rejected or whatever it might be. I don't give a shit.
Because here's why. It's like, I'll give you a good example. Like, before I do any of these interviews, I get a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's like this domino effect that can go either positive or negative when you're cold calling. The negative domino effect is when you're like, oh, I'm a little bit like nervous and insecure about my cold calls. Maybe I'll lower my voice a little bit. And then like you get rejected for the first time. You're like, hey, how's your day going? And then like you get rejected and you look over like, did someone see that? And then all of a sudden it's like this spiraling of like, because you're worried about the people around you, that insecurity is coming off to your prospect.
Yeah.
And so instead I just kind of have to sit there and be like, what I literally tell myself is I tell myself, get big.
Yeah.
And I sit up and back. And I'm like, I'm going to get big here. And that might annoy some of the people around me. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I'm going to flop fantastically.
And you're doing
on
something
these
that
cold
they're
calls.
afraid to do anyway.
Exactly. I was like, no one's doing this anyways.
Yep.
They already think I'm an idiot anyways. And I was like, I'm just going to like laugh my way to the bank here. And like, I happen to have some like obnoxious conviction in myself at the time.
Yeah.
But like, look, if you need to get in a dial booth, get in a dial booth to build up that confidence yourself.
Yeah.
And then start dialing on the floor. But I wanted the culture to be like, people get in at 8:30, they're having a good time, they slap hands, and then you look over at 9 and there are like 5 other people dialing with you.
Yeah.
Right. And you're laughing together. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted people who are gonna not be like, hey, let's like force you to go out to this happy hour, but like we're in the trenches together. We're all working really hard together. So we want to hang out as a team together, because I believe that hard work creates camaraderie on a sales floor. And so what did we actually do to make that happen? So some of it was aided by the fact that for the last 9 months as an AE, I was doing that the whole time. So like I had some street cred with the team, and I was like, yo, like, you guys see the numbers, like this is working. And I had like a lot of respect on the SDR team. And I was like, I'm literally just going to take the exact playbook that I was using. And my ask is for you guys to like close your eyes for a couple weeks and just work with me through it. And so I would schedule every day from 9 to 10, a dial blitz, and every single SDR would pick up the phone at the exact same time. I would put it in the global sales channel. And sometimes I would do SF versus Salt Lake. I would do AE versus SDR. And guess who was dialing with them? It was me.
So you did this in a public sales channel with the entire sales org.
Correct.
Love that.
And I was like, for that hour, every time someone books a meeting, I want the name of the company, how you booked it, and the date of the meeting, and which AE you booked it for in that channel. And I want you to tag that AE, because now we get the AEs cheering on the SDRs. And so every morning people will be like, ooh, what's cooking on the phones? What's good? And then all of a sudden overnight, people are now being rewarded for a culture of being on the phones. Right. So you just do some of these things in public. And it also becomes like kind of weird when you're not the person who's dialing, or you're like not the person who's like posting anything in the channel. You kind of want to be a part of that versus having it be like a stick where you have to do this thing.
So the word that comes to mind to me when I hear that is the word advocate.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've been honestly working really hard in my personal life on, whether it's for Sarah, you know, my wife, people on our team, like whatever it might be. I actually have less of an issue doing this in a work setting, but not being afraid to like really stand up, advocate, and like think about the brand for your team. Like I think any SDR leader listening to this should really think about like, how am I promoting like my team and building the brand within our company around the SDR team, the BDR team, and publicly promoting the good things and just shouting that from the mountaintop, so to speak, I think is a really great way to do it. And then you're also creating accountability for you guys too.
Yeah.
Which I love. And it's like the AE SDR partnership. It's like when you're leading the charge and you're getting them chiming in and getting them excited about it, it's like, it just breaks down that silo between the two also.
100%. I mean,
I love that.
People can call it political if they want. Because what, are you running a political campaign for your SDRs? But the reality is like SDRs in most organizations, get treated like crap.
They do.
They get treated like absolute garbage. The AE holds all the power. If the AE doesn't have a call that goes perfectly, they don't flip the op.
Yep.
If they get a bad meeting on their calendar, even though it was the perfect ICP, but the person was a little bit of a jerk, they blame it on the SDR.
Yeah.
They assume negative intent. Like someone's got to like get in there and like show the grind to the world.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people forget how crappy the SDR job is. I remember there was one, we called it a show and tell at Carta. So Carta was, I think it was like 400 people at the time. Once a week, different functions would get to present on their part of the organization. So recruiting would do something, HR would do something, engineering would do a product demo, product would do something. I digress.
And then you played a highlight video of people being told to fuck off.
Exactly. And so, but literally a month into this, our team was starting to cook.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like let me get on show and tell. And Jeff, our CRO, love the guy. He was like, I want you to tell everyone what you're doing right now, because he was the new VP of sales in town, now CRO.
Yeah.
And he was like, I want to show people like that you're making a change. And I was like, all right. So I started the presentation at the company, all hands. And you ever watch Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith?
Of course.
Yeah.
Great
Before he
movie.
slapped someone in the face. So
This is pre-slap.
He made a lot of cold calls, man. There's all that tension building up, you know?
Yeah.
And so I started the presentation with a picture of Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness on the phone.
Yeah.
Right. And I told the story of there's this scene where like basically like he had been sleeping in the subway, like evicted from his home. He's just like trying to keep his kids safe and all that stuff.
Yep.
And he's just smiling, dialing nonstop, smiling, dialing nonstop, smiling, dialing nonstop. He's just dialing over and over and over again, getting rejected like ridiculously. And then eventually he books a meeting and he's like, oh my God. He's like, this could be the meeting that changes my life. And so the whole movie surrounds around like him going and booking that meeting, ultimately selling a big deal, landing a big wealth management gig, all that stuff, changing his life, right? The guy booked one meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. SDRs do that like 3-minute segment of the movie for 8 hours a day. And you have to book 16 meetings in a month. You have to do that entire thing 16 times all day, every day. And it freaking sucks.
Yeah.
And it was wild to see. We literally put the team's numbers a month prior and the month after.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is how many dials we made before. This is how many meetings we booked. Next month, boom, big hockey stick up.
Yeah.
And the meetings were just like through the roof. And like the whole org, once they got bought in on the fact of like, wow, like cold calling really, really sucks. It's like no one would want to do that. Who would possibly want to do that? And then you put the face of the SDRs on the board, and you see that every single person on that board has now stepped up and like quadrupled their activity, and they're seeing results from it. It all of a sudden created, like it put the SDR team on the map of the organization. Whereas before everyone thought SDRs were just spamming people and being annoying.
Oh, dude, I love this so much, man. Minimum viable tactics.
Yeah.
So what's that look like? Like, what are the core essentials for you if you're running an SDR org around frameworks, things that like folks need to master?
Yeah. 3 things. You have to be able to pick the right people, accounts and people to reach out to. You need to be able to write a good email, and you need to be able to make a good cold call.
Yep.
That's it. You got to do that a certain number of times. The vast majority of prospecting problems can be attributed to reaching out to the wrong accounts and people.
Yeah.
It's not the cold call language. It's not the cold email language. It's actually the targeting.
Yep.
That's usually the issue. So the cold email frameworks, cold calling frameworks, those are straightforward. I can go through those. What we would do for account research is what I called shuttle runs.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times what will happen is someone will tell an SDR, go like work 10 accounts this week all the way through email, and then let's like review the results.
Yeah.
It's your opening week. Let's start with only 10, see what happens. And the problem is an SDR will make a chain of 17 mistakes along the way. They'll pick the wrong account, so it's basically done anyways. Then they'll pick the wrong personas on the wrong account, and then they'll go and they'll like tee them up in a sequence for the wrong trigger, and then they'll like personalize the email the wrong way, and then they'll make a cold call. They'll ask, did I catch you at a bad time? And like they make 17 mistakes, and so the manager like can't even like break up the coaching into pieces.
Yeah.
And so what we would do is we would slow it down so we could speed up. So I'd be like, go find 5 accounts based on this criteria, bring them back to me. I'd be like, check them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool, awesome. Can you tell me why you picked this account for each one? Okay, these 3 are good, these 2 are bad. Great. Go find 2 more good ones until we have 5 good ones, and then we'll move forward. Awesome. Now you know how to find good accounts.
Were there any like kind of quick hitting stuff that was like the non-obvious, like ICP fit, like employee count type of stuff that you work through, or even that you would suggest now?
Yeah. So Carta at the time, you need to figure out what this looks like for your sale. Using
Mhm.
Carta as an example, Carta helped startups manage their stock options and
Mhm.
equity plans. So you might have a company that fits within the ICP of startups from Series A to Series F who had 50 to 500 employees, what have you, but is never going to buy
Yeah.
because they have what's called a stale cap table, which means their employee headcount is flatlining, which
Mm.
means they're not issuing new options
Yeah.
to employees, or they haven't been funded in 3 years. And so, even though in theory they might be issuing options, funding rounds require companies to do certain types of equity compliance that can get very expensive, which is good for Carta.
Yeah.
If they haven't been funded in 3 years, that means they might be like one of those living dead companies that
Yeah.
will probably not make the rip to Carta. So it's a combination of like you have to know your ICP of these funding rounds, this employee count, this geography, these people on the account, but then you also have to say this is what will actually lead an account to reply and buy from
Yeah.
us. So for us, it was a certain recency in funding.
Yeah.
It was a certain employee growth rate. Like if it wasn't double digits, it basically wasn't worth your time
Yeah.
at that point. And then there were a series of other trigger events.
Yeah.
For example, if a company is a Series C company, that's when they usually start to be audited. Those were trigger events that would tell you that this company may or may not be in a buying window.
Got it. So the triggers layered on top of like the firmographic info, it's that extra layer, and reverse engineering those triggers. I mean, we did a whole course on this,
Yeah.
right? So reverse engineering those triggers to make sure the timing is right is really big. Um, so there's this step where we're disqualifying most of the accounts that we could reach out to. And I think that word disqualify is really important because we talk about it a lot in sales, but we don't talk about it from an outbound standpoint.
Yeah.
Outbound is like hit the entire TAM. And it's like, no, like before we do anything, let's just identify the 10 or 15% of accounts that we have in our list that are a good fit right now based on firmographic data and then timing. Um, we don't need to do a big, there's so many tactics on this show for cold email and cold call. We don't need to really dig into that a lot. If there
Yeah.
are skills though, in those areas, like what are you looking for in terms of proficiency? What do you want a rep to be able to do?
Yeah. No, I'll just add on to that point one more time, which is
Yeah.
the highest activity reps in every team that I've ever
Mhm.
coached are never the top performers.
Mm.
There is a minimum viable activity standard that I expect reps to do because you're not going to hit quota making one cold call per week.
Yeah.
But there is a certain point where you hit junk volume
Yeah.
in sales.
Hmm.
And that just like that is just like not it. So let's talk about just skills that I'm looking for. So once they've shuttle run 5 accounts, 3 to 5 contacts per account, now they need to write one cold email and they need to make one cold call. Right. So usually you have them write the cold emails to get the sequence going, and then you have them do their first outlets. What I am looking for is my other co-host, Mark Cosiclo, he calls this ability to connect the dots.
Mm.
I'm trying to see, did you take the information that you got at the account level, that you got at the person level, and can you figure out the relationship between those triggers and the email?
Yeah.
And so this is where a lot of times like SDRs will struggle. Is like they'll be like, finally, I found the right accounts, found this, this, this. Let me just like blast them with the same messaging,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm looking for someone's ability to say, okay, this is a Series C company, which means I know enough about our product using my critical thinking to know that they're probably being audited, which probably means I need to mention something about, hey, you're Series C company and you're going to be audited before I just get into my general blanket pitch,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm looking to make sure that, look, you can't personalize every single email you send, especially Carta, which was an SMB sale.
Hmm.
But I'm looking for, are you making the quick pivot personalizations
Yeah.
so that all the time you spent researching those accounts is actually used effectively. It takes another 10 seconds to pop in the right trigger template when you're
Yeah.
personalizing accounts. I'm looking for that.
So basically, you're thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of like buckets or situations. There's probably a handful, maybe half a dozen common situations that a buyer would find themselves in where that you have a template for.
Correct. We would call it first is best. So we had a
Yeah.
list of 5, maybe 10 triggers,
Hmm.
and it was like they're stack ranked. So if they got funded yesterday, like that's number 1. If
Yeah.
they're growing at 20, 30%, that might be like number 4 or something because it's more of like a passive trigger.
Yeah.
And then we would have trigger templates for each of those, and the SDRs would just go down. You kind of like the SDR when it's like done really, really well is it's like a big if this then that conversation, and then
Yep.
human touches at the end,
Yeah.
right? And that's what they were doing.
I love this too. I think a great exercise to think about is, and this is where I do like AI, because when you work with AI, you do have to give it very specific, like workflow based directions. And there's a
Hmm.
lot of if this, then that statements in there.
Yeah,
And if you force yourself to think like that, it's also going to help the rep. When I encounter this, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what that's going to look like. And you remove, we call it eating complexity. You eat
yeah,
some of that complexity of like having to think so much about what to do or work so much from scratch. Um, let's segue into pipe gen plays. We've
yeah.
talked about how to build the outbound machine. Pipe gen plays. Walk us through some of the stuff that these were things I think that you did as a rep, as a leader, as a VP of sales. There's some stuff now that you do at 30 MPC. Walk us through some of the not so obvious ways that we can generate pipeline outside of freaking hammering the phones and sending the emails and doing the really, really cold stuff.
Yeah.
What is the stuff that's kind of in between that and a inbound demo request?
Yeah. So first we'll go through marketing plays, and then we'll go through changing the voice slash referral
Yeah.
plays. So at Carta, we ran a lot of plays in tandem with marketing.
Mm,
So we had one team that was prospecting mostly into like venture capitalists. So those
yeah.
were like our enterprise deals. Those are typically 6-figure deals.
Mhm.
You're selling directly to the fund. And we would work with our marketing slash ABM team where we would pick some sector of VC. So, for
Yeah.
example, it might be a competitor takedown.
Mhm.
It might be these types of funds are all in this certain compliance window.
Mhm.
And we would have marketing while the SDRs worked that book of 25 accounts. We would have marketing run over the top ads
Yeah.
on those accounts that were synced up with the SDR messaging. So like
This
the
is like a
SDR,
pretty sophisticated thing to do at this time too.
yeah, it's like pretty at the time this was very now it's easier to do with like tools like Sixth Sense and whatnot. But at the time it was like, okay, like we would have our performance marketer, we would be targeting these funds with compliance messaging,
Yeah.
fund compliance, and then they would be running display ads, right? And
Love
then
it.
the ABM marketer would be going and like sending them stuff like physical goods. So for example,
Oh,
like
wow.
we would send VCs pies and be
Yeah.
like, Carta helps you track your slice of the pie. And just like when you're
Oh, I
getting the
love that.
ads, you're getting the
Yeah.
SDR message, you're maybe getting a message over the top from the CEO, like to one of the fund leaders, and then you're getting a pie at your front door. It's
Everywhere, dude.
like you're gonna you're gonna respond. Like,
Yeah.
and we would pick a list of 20 accounts, 25 accounts, and our average breakthrough rate on them on an okay campaign was 10%. On a great campaign was 20%.
Yeah.
Like if you could break into 20% of your accounts in a month, you'd
Yeah,
be
dude.
like stoked.
Yeah.
You'd be stoked. And so we would just like that was how we scaled the motion in more of an enterprise thing. Is we just like break down the elephant into pieces and just like hit them from every single channel possible.
Dude, I love that. So, how involved were you in the coordination of that stuff? Or was someone else like, hey, I just need you to reach out to these accounts? Like, how did you select the accounts? Like,
Yeah.
because this is something I feel like to really break through with outbound. And again, we love AI. We recorded a whole course on how to leverage it with cold email and that sort of stuff. But it's the most crowded channel you could possibly be in is email.
Totally.
Social's pretty crowded. The phone, if you're able to use certain tools to increase the pickup rate, works really well. But these are extremely crowded channels. Sending a pie to someone, that is not a crowded channel. Like people
Yeah.
aren't getting food delivered to their office. They aren't getting clever direct mail kind of things. Most companies, and again, the technology makes it easier today, but dude, we work with some of the most sophisticated go-to-market teams out there, and they
Yeah.
aren't doing stuff like this.
Totally. It's, I mean, to me as an SDR leader, a lot of times in sales in general, people will like complain marketing isn't sending me enough leads. They're sending me crappy leads and all that stuff. So it was my job to
Mhm.
be the train traffic conductor in my mind.
Yeah.
And there are two reasons for that. Number one, I would pick the list
Mhm.
because my reps are the ones who are on the ground actually seeing what books. So
Yeah.
like a lot of times people get frustrated with marketing because marketing will have MQL scoring criteria that doesn't reflect the reality of what
Mhm.
books a meeting for an SDR.
Yep.
And the missing piece in the equation is you, as the sales leader, need to go pull it from your SDRs and be like, these are the last 20 meetings we've booked. You help your marketing leader reverse engineer that so that they
Oh,
can build in their scoring criteria. And so like that was on me is I would go and I would like look at all the meetings my SDRs booked and I'd be like, okay, like I'm reading through the tea leaves. Like, let's see if we can turn this one meeting into 10 more meetings. Bring that to my marketing leader and be like, I'm going to pick the list. I'm going to run the campaign. Marketing leader, I need you to come with two different ways to work this channel. Right.
yeah.
But like that was all I was the train traffic conductor because
Yeah.
I'm the only one who has all the pieces of information from what accounts are being booked to how the SDRs are working to who gets to work with marketing. Who
Yeah.
else is going to do it? Is marketing going to run it? Are they going to get my SDRs to be able to do this campaign? No. It's like I'm
Yeah.
going to do it because what else am I going to do?
I love this. And as much as I love all the tech out there these days, this is something that requires manual intervention.
Yeah.
Like literally look through them, look through the Salesforce like history of the activities and like what happened. Did they download something? How long were they on the list? There's just so many things that you
Yeah.
can reverse engineer. What are some of the other stuff that you've
Yeah.
done?
And just on that note, a lot of if you have an organization where either the leaders don't know why the top reps are successful or the top reps just won't share it.
Hmm.
What I did at Carta is I would just look at all the meetings that were being booked and all the deals that were being closed, and I would just follow the sales force activity backwards. And when
Mm,
you do that 10 times with all the closed won versus all the closed loss ops, you start to see common trends of okay,
yeah.
this company wasn't funded. I listened to this call that's a bad path, and then you start to build your golden path
Yeah.
for booking meetings and closing deals. So other things, I'll bring it to more like the referral angle at Pave. So and then we can talk events if we want
Yeah.
because events are fun. So at Pave, what we would do is I was the ninth employee at
Hmm.
Pave super early. Fortunately, even though my network was basically zero in HR, I knew that my CEO was reasonably well networked with other CEOs
Yeah.
who could get us intros to the HR people. And I knew that our investors had a series of portfolio companies. So it's
Yeah.
not like we entered with this like vast network of HR leaders, but we did have investors and I did have a CEO who was like reasonably well connected.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I went to, with my CEO's permission, I had to make introductions to each of the portfolio operations teams.
Hmm.
And I put together a list of all your portfolio companies. And I was like, hey, folks, congratulations. I've scored your portfolio companies based on their likelihood to be a fit with Pave.
Yeah.
And I've said that of your 250 portfolio companies, these are the top 50 and then the next 50. And then
Yeah.
here are the two people leaders that I need to get introduced to. And here's a blurb for every single one of them. Can
Yeah.
we go down this list and every single week chomp away at 5 to 10 at a time? And then next week, I can come back and tell you how these conversations went so that you can be like, hey, they're doing a good job with these portfolio companies. And I can give you another 5 to 10. So
Yeah.
I had like bi-weekly meetings with Andreessen Horowitz, bi-weekly meetings with Index, bi-weekly meetings with Y Combinator, and
Mm.
was just like making it rain on the team. Like,
Yeah.
and obviously like we would take these calls the right way. Sometimes I would have my CEO take the first call if they wanted to make a CEO to CEO intro.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would take the first call. I would always make sure that the rep was super, super, super prepared
Yeah.
because I wanted to treat my referrer well.
Yeah.
And then I would always close the loop with my referrer to let them know what happened and create a positive feedback loop so
Very
that they're
important
like,
step.
yeah, because they're like, oh, like when I refer people to this person, good things happen and the customer's happy even if they didn't buy.
Yep.
Like I'm treating their leads like gold. I'm sending the lead a gift. I'm sending the
Yep.
investor a gift, all that stuff. And so like you can just keep tapping that well over and over and over again.
Yep.
So that was one. And then the other was with our executive team. You can usually find both your executives and then your company's executive, the right executive for that function. So if you sell
Mhm.
engineering tech, you can go to your CTO. If you sell
Yep.
legal tech, you can go to your general counsel.
Yep.
So for us, I went to our CEO And I also went to all of our executives because everyone's worked with HR leaders.
Yep.
Pave sold to HR. And of course, I brought in our chief people officer.
Yeah.
And I said, congratulations, today you all get to be SDRs.
Yeah.
And so I would go and look at all of their first degree connections. And I would be like, this is the list of all of the chief people officers and people leaders and directors of compensation you're connected to. Guess what?
Yeah.
You're going to be an SDR today and you're going to make 5 introductions for your lovely sales team. And we would leave with like 10, 20 introductions from our executive team every single month. And we would do it monthly. We would call it Exec Shark Tank Week.
Yeah.
And like you get the entire company behind you generating pipes. So it doesn't have to be completely cold every single time.
And I think an important detail here is you're doing all of that work for the exec.
Correct.
You're finding the account, the connection, you're ghostwriting the message, I would assume, for them to send, you're following up with them, you're letting them know what happened, all of that stuff.
Exactly. It's like, and obviously I personally was not doing that, but I would say each SDR, I'm going to assign you to an executive, go look through their first degrees, and like, you're going to get some for you. Some are going to go to your SDR friend. It all comes out in the wash. Like this is a team effort where I need you to give me a clean spreadsheet at the end that I can just pass the executive team and they can just click, 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 click. It's done.
Love that. So events. Tell me about events.
All right. So events. A couple different times we've done this. We did this a lot at Pave.
Yeah.
Where HR Transform was the biggest HR conference of the year for our specific vertical. And then at 30 MPC, we've had a lot of success at Dreamforce in the past. The money is made before the event. Like the money is 100% made before the event. So we would send 2 or 3 representatives to HR Transform.
Yep.
And a lot of people were like, oh, I'm going to go work the booth. And I was like, I won't cuss. I was like, F the booth.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't give a damn about the booth. It's like, we're early boost. Like, I don't even know if we can afford a booth right now. What I want to know is you have 30 conversations set before you go to the event.
Yeah.
And so with our 3 reps, I was like, each of you need to reach out to every single person in your book and have your SDRs reach out to the crossbook. So you're going to take meetings for the other AEs because you're the representative for the event. We're flying you out and that's just the job. And I want to know that you have 30 meetings on the books and you can bring the prospect to the booth, but I want your calendar stacked going into it. And every single week for the 3 months leading up to the event, in our Monday morning meeting, I would put it on the board and it was like road to Dreamforce or road to HR Transform. And I was like, I want to see how many meetings we booked. And if it's not at 30, I'm going to cancel trips.
Yeah.
And so it was like, dude, we would go into these events and it would like, these reps wouldn't have time to go to the bathroom because they'd be so busy. So that was one. The booth is basically useless unless you're inviting people to it. Yeah. It's like, you're going to drive by, you happen to be a people leader. Great. It's like, just work it so that there's a way for people to inbound.
Yeah.
But then the last piece is you take the events and you go floor hunting. Okay. So floor hunting is where you pick the events with the highest foot traffic. And then you find a way to try to figure out who's going to be there. That can either be via asking all the people that you're meeting with to be like, hey, do you know other leaders that are going to be at the demand-based happy hour, for example? Or my little trick, which use it at your own risk. When I'll usually befriend the person at the door. Yeah. And they'll have a big list that they'll be flipping through. Yeah. And I'll just say, hey, as I sign myself in, I want my friend to know that he's on the list. Can I take a quick picture of this? And now I have the full list upon walking in the event. And then I can plug that into ChatGPT and be like, is anyone here ICP? And if not, I just leave. So if you don't have access to the list because you didn't sponsor the event,
oh man,
find a way to look at the list.
Dude, I love that. We got to run here in a couple minutes. So I got some rapid fire questions for you. Okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's your hot take on AI?
AI sales coaches, useless. I haven't seen one that is useful. I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. Don't care. Where is the AE or SDR that's asking for that? There are so many like solutions in search of a problem, or the one where it's like, we're going to give you tips while you're on a sales call. So
Yeah.
that like while you're negotiating with a CFO, you have this like thing pinging you in the middle of the call being like, hey, make sure that you do a give get. I'm just like, when my manager slacks me on a call, I'm going crazy. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not only the distraction element, but I think there's also so much context around what you
Yeah.
sell that yes, AI can gather some of it,
Mhm.
but the reality is when I'm doing a deal review with someone, man, like before I give any advice, I'm asking like 10 to 15 questions.
Yeah.
And until I see an AI that is capable of doing that with the level of nuance that I need to know about your industry, your sales motion,
Mhm.
who you are as a person, whether or not I trust your instinct as a seller, like that's not even close to there. And on top of that, there is something about just like knowing that a human is ingesting this information from me
Yeah.
that I find makes it hard to trust with like critical deal advice. That's what it's not good for. It's phenomenal for if this, then that.
Yeah. Surfacing insight for you.
Correct. Look for these 10 triggers, like all that stuff we
Yep.
talked about at the SDR, the shuttle run. It's
Yep.
like, these are the 10 things that I look for in accounts. Here's my list of 50 accounts in a spreadsheet. Give
Yep.
me a checklist of which of these 5 triggers exist on these 50 accounts in column form. Boom, gets back. Literally, that would have taken an SDR
Yep.
3 hours before. Now it's like 5 minutes. That's nuts. It's great for that.
Yeah. Love that, man. How do you prevent and deal with stress?
I'm still working on this one. There was a quote from Buddha. Have you heard of the two arrows?
I thought you were gonna say, "Do I know the Buddha?"
Yeah, do you know the Buddha? Have you met
I
Buddha?
have met him.
Right? You heard the name tossed around. So the quote is that I forget exactly how it goes, but it's a story of two arrows where basically you get shot with the first arrow, it hurts like crazy,
Yeah.
right? Person winds up the second arrow, shoots it, and the whole premise is that the pain from the second arrow is optional.
Yeah.
And what that means is bad things happen in your life. There are some things that are going on at 30MC right now that are super frustrating. Deals blowing up, whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? That is going to be painful no matter what. The second arrow is represented by resentment or
Yeah.
excess frustrations or swirling thoughts in your head. It's basically all of your internal emotional reactions
Mm.
around
Yeah.
that problem, around the painful thing, which is losing the deal, right? Blaming it on my manager, blaming it on my territory, thinking the world isn't fair. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking something that was painful and I'm adding more emotional pain to it. And
Yeah.
so what does that mean? Does that mean you just ignore it? No. But what that means is you acknowledge that every single thing that you are doing in your life and in your career is a choice. And so I can choose to be resentful that I have this manager, or I can choose to, I can say that I don't have a really good territory.
Yeah.
But in reality, I am choosing the pain of staying at this company over the pain of going out in the field and finding a new job.
Yeah.
And so if that's the choice that I'm willing to make, where I'm basically saying it's more painful to find another job than it is to deal with the pain of my territory here,
Mm-hmm.
then I might as well then say, what am I going to do to deal with my territory, given that is the situation that I'm in? And that helps me take a little bit more agency over the stress. I find that stress for me is created when I feel like I don't have control over my situation, but you
Yeah.
always do.
Love that. Last question. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself as a first-time rep or first-time leader?
Make big, hard decisions earlier
Mm,
so you don't die by death from a million cuts.
yeah.
So this is like one that's a little bit more personal to me,
Mm-hmm.
but there are all these rumors around like what happened to me at Pave. I basically led them from 0 to 12, 13 million in ARR in 2 years. In the first year, our revenue target was 4 million. We hit 6,
Yeah.
which was like a huge blowout. And then tech bubble burst in 22, one of the many to burst, but it was bad. Companies were laying off. And we ended up going from 6 to 13, which doubling in that economic environment
Yeah.
was like miraculous.
Yeah.
Like no one was doubling, and like the board had my back and everything. The mistake that I made was the target was 20 in ZERP,
Hmm.
and I refused to acknowledge that that 20 was not a reality anymore.
Hmm.
And so I held on to it, and I held on to all of the headcount
Yeah.
for my team, thinking that we could hit a $20 million goal instead of acknowledging the reality that the underwriting criteria for a deal had changed in the
Yeah.
market, where our win rate like flipped upside down overnight. And what I should have done is I should have acknowledged like, hey, like the right next goal for us is 12, and
Yeah.
like we have too many people. And the reality is that's what we ended up having to do anyways.
Hmm.
But it was the slow, every single week we had a losing locker room because we had this $20 million number in our minds, but we were
Yeah.
really pacing to like 12 to 13. And I remember that entire year, the entire team felt like losers. And
Mm.
the only thing that needed to change was the expectation.
Yeah.
That was it.
Damn. That's a good place to end, dude.
Yeah, man.
It's great jamming with you. Where can people go to connect with you? Learn more about what you guys are up to at 30 NPC if they
Yeah.
don't already. All that good stuff.
I appreciate you, man. So
Yeah.
you can find me personally on LinkedIn. I'm the only one with my last name, Armand Farrokh. And then we've done a course with you.
Mhm.
And so it's my favorite cold email course out there.
Let's go.
And then every week we put out all types of actionable sales tactics on our newsletter. If you just go to 30mpc.com/newsletter, you can sign up for there. It's completely free. Every single week, it's like one full tactical breakdown.
Cool. Good
Cool.
jamming with you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.